One with the recent Trump tweet or retweet of Covfefe, I had to put this video together, and I'm going to talk about where Covfefe ends up being on Google Maps. And I had done this research about 4 or 5 years ago, and then, kind of put it on the back burner, not thinking it was really relevant until he retweeted it. So it is really relevant, and it's actually really funny. And I hope you guys enjoy this video because I'm like giggling the whole way through. And also, there's a Trump Johnny Depp connection that there he is mimicking certain mythology in the courtroom. And so I want to go into that because I do believe that's being used as kind of like symbolism for our freedom as well. So it's really exciting. I find it really entertaining. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. And it's even tying to Will Smith's next project. So here on May 30th, they're saying 2017, Trump did his original tweet, but it was actually at midnight, so it was May 31st in 2017. They're saying he tweeted this, I'm back, Covfefe, hashtag Covfefe, on April 25th, 2022. And that he's saying that he's not going back on Twitter. He's creating his own truth media, which makes sense to me because that way the two consciousness are separate. So people that believe, one thing can be on Twitter, and then people that are following Trump can be on this other social media. So it's really like two realities of consciousness, or two truths going on at the same time. And unless you're willing to look at both, you're just going to stay in your perception. Now, he tweeted this outside Mar-a-Lago, and the Spanish etymology is sea or lake. So we're back to a lake or the sea. Well, lake ties to Lincoln in Welsh, which is why we have the reflecting pool outside of Washington, D.C., where the obelisk is. And I do believe that is the nectar of the gods. Okay, so he also has a Neptune statue outside Mar-a-Lago. I've shown you guys that before, and also the swan statue where he's done his white suit, bare feet photo shoot with the swans. So these are all kind of like ascension symbols. Neptune, like I've said before, can put you in a fog and make you not see reality. And then it also is the shamanic Christ consciousness. Okay, so it depends on whether you're going with the negative side of Neptune or the positive side. Neptune is the god of horses, and he is in a chariot controlling horses. Sometimes there's a black and white one. So there's that also aspect. And I will get into that, how that all relates to the Kabbalah tree. That will be some of the teaching I will be doing with the tarot cards and Carl Jung's archetypes with the Kabbalah tree. Now, Anne Marie was doing a video, and she had pulled up this Project Camelot tweet. And so Project Camelot is saying that they use books and, symbolism to give each other messages, right? So this is what, this whole thing is all about. It's a big fun game because you can kind of figure out what these messages are by understanding them. So they're saying here, so there are two examples we can conclude that Assange uses books to send coded messages. Now that is what Johnny Depp is doing, and I'll get to that at the end of this video. Second, this is a bit more straightforward. Trump used his post on social media, Twitter at the time, to send decoded messages. Think Covfefe. 17th letter uses it. Okay, so, in the same context, it's all coded. So this brings us to yesterday when Trump posted on Truth Social the Covfefe and the image of him standing on the croquet field, a game. Okay, so he's actually standing on at Mar-a-Lago, but on the croquet field. This is the original tweet that he tweeted on May 31st in 2017, despite the constant negative press, Covfefe. And then he removed the tweet, I think 6 hours later, saying that it was a coded word. This happened on the 22nd Wednesday of 2017, and we know 22 ties into the Kabbalah tree and the tarot cards, right? There's 22 tarot cards. So it's interesting that that was done on that day. Wednesday is ruled by Mercury it would be Mercredi in French, or Woden Day, which is Odin Day, which is in German. Okay, so this is ruled by Mercury, which I do believe Trump is Mercury, or represents Mercury. Mercury represents the trickster. He's also to do with your mind. He's to do with communication, and through like Twitter, and also to do with writing, okay, and speaking, and having communication. So, and it's a twin aspect to it, right? Like there's a polarity to it because Mercury rules Gemini, so it can, you can have the good twin and the bad twin, right? Or to do with Virgo, which is all tying into Washington, right? Because Washington, the Freemasons built Washington Triangle to align with the Spring Triangle that has to do with Virgo. It's in Virgo is in the center of that Spring Triangle. So, this is also ruled by Mercury. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention was the yellow and blue symbolism are the chakra colors for Mercury, both of them. Blue is the throat chakra, and yellow is the stomach, which is Virgo. Okay, so we have the yellow and blue symbolism. It's Mercury, Mercury, which is mutable cross. Mercury, Mercury is on the mutable cross on the ladder. There's no Venus, no love, and no Saturn, no keeper of the golden age, okay, who has the key to this realm. Okay, so it's kind of like a bipolar cross. It's all to do with service to others at the detriment of self for the soul if you overdo it. Everything in astrology, like in this realm, has a good and bad side. So when I say something negative about a planet or about a constellation, there's always a positive side to it as well. Now, I'm just teaching you what the negative is so that you understand, how they're using the symbolism. It doesn't mean if you're born on the mutable cross that that's a negative thing. No, it's just there's always a positive because it's service to others. It's all about giving and helping people, right? So that's really important too. So anyhow, always remember that there's no just negative. There's no just positive. Here they're saying that Trump never acknowledged that the tweet contained a mistyping. He instead tweeted it again at 6:09. Now, the reason it's 6:09, that's Cancer, okay? That's the 6 and the 9 for Cancer, and this ties to Neptune on the Kabbalah tree. After deleting the original tweet, who can figure out the true meaning of Covfefe, enjoy? The White House press secretary, Sean Spencer, implied later that day that the tweet was not a typo, but rather intentional. I think the president and a small group of people know exactly what it means. So we're learning what it means, okay? And it ties to freedom. Trump references the word in May 2018 by pronouncing it in a White House video about the auditorial illusion, Yanny or Laurel. He stated near the end of the video, I hear Covfefe. Okay, so what's the Yanny and Laurel? That is to do with when you see a color, they were showing a golden or a blue color. Again, the yellow and the blue. And some people see the blue dress, some people see the yellow dress. It's like, also when you hear the word Yanny or Laurel, like, which word are you hearing? Okay, so it's like a little perception game. Exactly what we're living in. It's exactly what we're living in. So here they're explaining it here about the blue dress and the gold dress. Okay, so it's amazing. It's really, it's so bizarre what's happening in our real time. How you see the perception of truth, because there are no facts. They're only just perceptions. It's just your truth, nobody else's. Here's a whole list of where they're using Covfefe in pop culture. Minecraft, it's on Daily Show. They're making jokes about it with Alex Baldwin. It just goes on and on and on. You guys can read it if you want to, but you can see that they're really projecting this word out to teach us to pay attention to it, right? Because it's linked. It's linked. It has a message, and so Google Earth is giving you the message. It is a surreal game. So here's a tweet from Joseph J. Flynn. Some gave it all. The real Donald Trump elected first time. Many dragons were slayed. So, I do think that they're rooting for us, to find our freedom. But we have to believe that there is a freedom, right? So this is what this is all about. Creating your perception to believe that you have a right to be free from this slavery of this realm. Okay, and it's not to do with fighting this realm because some people want this realm. It's to believe and build the other timeline. And you have to do this through your belief system. And when you can, the only way you can manifest something is when you're in a higher frequency. You can't, if you're in a low frequency, you're going to attract low things. So you can't be like all bummed out and expecting good things to happen. You have to raise yourself up, okay, to get to that level so that you create it. And that's what we're doing. We're the light workers that are doing that. We're creating this new kingdom of freedom. So back in 2017, I Googled Earth, okay, Googled Earth, and this was what came up. It has to do with Covfefe. Now, Covfefe is on Corona do Drive. So they added the Corona word in. This is 2017, okay? Corona didn't exist, okay? And this is in Fairborn. So you're fair, you're born fair in Ohio, right? This all play on words. Now they're calling this Covfefe and kettlebells. I'm not sure about the kettlebells, but it's Kaplan masonry. Okay, that's right beside it. So it's to do with Freemasonry. It's like a code. Okay, so anyhow, there's more. There's the other Covfefes. Okay, on Google Earth. There's not just one. There's about 4 or 5 of them. So it's like a treasure hunt. This one's hilarious. 322. That's when the blood moon is on Pi Day, right? On the Zabi Java star, which has to do with coffee, Zabi Java. So there's a coffee house and it's all promoting Trump. Okay. And, they have like things to buy there, like coffee to buy. And they have the term Covfefe up on the wall and what it means. This is the antediluvian term for Covfefe. In the end, we win. And it says here, Trump's holding a plaque saying, it's a great day. Okay, so this is Covfefe, coffee, and gifts. In Arabic, they're saying the translation is, I will stand up. But it has to do with putting the abbreviations in between Fifi to get this actual Google Translate to do this. Covfefe is an Andalusian term, right? In the end, we win. It is commonly used by the sons of Adam to rail against the evil actions of the fallen who had led man astray. The term gained popularity prior to the Great Deluge and was rarely used after the flood subsided. It regained favor around the time of Nimrod was building his tower, after which it was entirely lost in the translation at Babel. Now here's some of the coffee gifts. We have Melania, which is Mel, which is honey. And then we have Trump with the sun kind of behind him. And this is called Bold America coffee. And this symbol is very much the same as the man in the high castle symbol. They have the same red and yellow with the sun behind it. Now they did an article with Trump. Amazon reimages Times Man of the Year issue for Man in the High Castle. And they have this reference with Trump. I did watch some of this show, and it's referencing to that the Nazis never lost the war, which I don't really think they did, but they came over and then America ended up becoming communist. And, there was also the Chinese or the Japanese was over in America. And so the whole America post World War II was totally different. And then there was these reels where they were showing the reality that it was free. And then people started to see these reels and they were hidden because soon as you see like there could be another reality, it meant that there's like another portal could open and you could create another reality. And they don't want you to do that. So this is kind of like what's happening in our reality. We have to create another timeline, like I said before. So I have a video somebody sent me about a guy that had been all involved in the Montauk Project, and he speaks about the High Castle, the man in the High Castle, and how that is really our reality. And I'll drop that in the description box for you. So the whole key is believing. So the Man in the High Castle has Scott Free Productions. Now that was a 17th letter post. Okay, so there's a link to that, and so it's all linking together here. Now here's another Covfefe cafe. It's just a house, but they've decorated it, right? And then, it's in Texas, Port Neches. So if you Google covfefecafetx.com, the site no longer exists. So it was just a temporary site. So they build these things, make it look like it's, a cafe, but it's really not. It's just a house. And then they, take it down. So it's all for fun. It's all for fun for us. Now it's 312 Saba Lane. So basically 123 Saba Lane. So I went on Google Earth to find Saba, and it's an island in the Caribbean, and they have Zion Hill there, which is, this it's the hill for freedom, right? So Mount Zion. It's crazy. For the Temple Hill in the land of Israel. Here's another Covfefe. This one is in Russia. Now, this is a coffee shop as well. Now, I haven't really figured out any symbolism on that one. There's another one in Thailand. Okay, so the coffee, and this is a Covfefe cafe. Okay, there's a little pool there. And then, of course, you have the Freedom Unicorn, right, that doesn't get on the ark. He stays free. Yeah, so he's there for the symbolism. Here's their logo, Covfefe Coffee. Almost look like an alien. And then they have it looks like Trump, right? So Covfefe, drain the swamp. And this is supposed to be, it's saying here, America first, Covfefe second. And this is supposed to be in Thailand, making coffee great. And oh, and then here's this one, MAGA blend, and then there's red pill blend. Oh my God. And this is where Covfefe pulls up when you go onto Google Earth, the main one in the United States. So this is in Logansport community, and it's kind of just out in the field. It's supposed to be a clothing store, but if you notice, there's Adams Burrow. So we got the Adams again. So this is relating to the quote of Covfefe, right? And then I wanted to check out, there's a church right beside where they have the marker. The church is called the Cross at the Crossroads. So it's kind of like we are at a crossroads, and it's called the Freedom Outreach and Ministry for the Military. And this is how I realized that Logansport is special, because the unofficial duties before leaving the White House from the Lady Laura Bush preserved American executive orders signed by President George W. Bush on March the 3rd, so it's number 33, in 2003, so the number 23, which has to do with DNA. Executive Order 13287 preserves America, complements the Preserved America initiative. So Preserve America communities designations are awarded to communities that are protect and celebrate their heritage. So it's all about heritage now. Now, this town has a river called Wabash River. The Wabash joins with the confluence to the Eel River. Now, an eel is a water snake. So we get the snake symbolism to this town. And we know the snake now all ties to Corona, right? Because of the snake venom and how that interacts with the body. And so, yeah, there's, you have to start looking into all that, because that's all referencing to what happens to the body when you get poisoned by snake venom. And so I've done some research on that, and it's interesting. It ties to copper, which is Venus. There's a famous song called On the Banks of the Wabash Far Away. Now, this song came out on Pi Day, right? Pi Day, when we have this blood moon on Zavi Java at 322, which is the Skull and Bones secret number, or their number for their secret society that the Bush family, George Bush belongs to. So on Pi Day, on 1913 is when this song came out. And let's look at the lyrics. It was among the earliest pieces of popular music to be recorded. So this is like a heritage piece, and it's composers to petition the United States Congress to expand federal copyright protections over this new technology. So the song's kind of about, loved ones passing. So round my Indiana homestead wave the cornfields. In the distance loom the woodlands clear and cool. Other times my thoughts revert to scenes of childhood, where I received my lessons, nature's school. But one thing there is missing from the picture. Without her face, it seems so incomplete. I long to see my mother in the doorway as she stood there years ago, her boy to greet. Oh, the moonlight's fair tonight along the Wabash. From the fields there comes the breath of new mown hay. Through the sycamores the candle lights are gleaming on the banks of the Wabash far away. Many years have passed since I strolled by the river, arm in arm with my sweetheart Mary by my side. It was there I tried to tell her that I loved her. It was there I begged of her to be my bride. Long years have passed since I strolled through the churchyard. She's sleeping there, my angel, Mary dear. I loved her. But she thought I didn't mean it. Still, I give my future, were she only here. There was copyright, stuff going on with his brother. But then back home again in Indiana, they're using this song at the Indianapolis 500. But this one isn't as popular because they're using this song when they're changing the cars around, so it's not as, popular. But there's another song that they're using as well there. And then they're also saying here that it was changed, the lyrics, for On the Shores of Havana, Far Away, for the Spanish-American War. And then a lyric consisted of a verse laminating the dead from the explosion of the USS Maine, a second hoping to avoid the draft, and a third criticizing and ridiculing the war. So it's basically, they've changed the song so it's like, ridiculing war. Now, in the modern times, the myth of the fingerprints. This was part to do with Paul Simon and his album Graceland. I actually went to see that concert in Toronto. And then this is about a dysfunctional family that gathers for Thanksgiving in New England home. Past demons reveal themselves as one son returns for the first time in 3 years. And this is what it's all about, right? It's about healing all our past ancestral memories, so that we don't have all this baggage and stuff hanging on us from, our ancestors because it's in our DNA. So you have to clear out all this negative emotion so that you can, you know, accept what's happened in your family or try to heal what's happened in your family, so you can release yourself from your ancestral pain. Now, they created this heritage thing with the bushes on March 3rd. Now, that's number 33. Now, what's interesting, the founder of this town was named John Tipton, okay, but it didn't get named after him. But he created the first Freemason lodge in Indiana. Okay, so the lodge number was actually named number 33. So here's the lodge history of the Tipton Masonic Lodge number 33 on 1307 Smith Street, Logansport, Indiana. So this is all the history of it. Now this building was restructured because I guess I don't know, it fell down, and then they rebuilt it so that it looks exactly the same, and they put a plaque on it in honor of John Tipton. Now, he wasn't a really nice guy. He was in charge of the Trail of Death for the Indian March. So he was a bit bitter because the Indians actually killed his father. So then, I guess he didn't have much empathy for them. And then, we got it all ties into the Battle of Tippecanoe, and he's all part of this. So they end up creating him as the head guy for this Trail of Death, which is pretty horrific because there was more than 40 of the natives died. Most of them were children. Okay, so, but a lot of them were really sick. They did a 2-month long march to get them out of Indiana. And this is where they marched them from. You can see it was Twin Lakes, which doesn't surprise me, you know, Twin Towers. They marched them from there to, and then Logansport was the third stop off. But this is they've created markers, memorial markers along this trail recently for all the people that have died on this march. So it doesn't surprise me that the Bushes are honoring this town, you know, with the history of the town. It's, you know, not really nice. Like this guy was basically like, okay, yeah, I'm going to march all these Indians and they're all going to die. Or I should say Native Americans. So here's the memorial is on the church. No, sorry, the hospital. Logansport Memorial Hospital is where they have this plaque. And it doesn't look like they honor it very much. This is kind of this plaque sitting in the ground. Okay, so this is the memorial that's on the hospital grounds. So the Trail of Death on this site in the fall of 1838, they celebrated a mass, received aid for the sick, and buried their dead. And that's where they buried them, where they built the hospital. So it's really kind of ironic, to say the least. You know, the pharmaceutical companies, you know, are you know, the whole word pharmakia is the goddess of sorcery. You know, so they're these natural human beings that were living in harmony with nature, and they, you know, build a hospital, which is kind of the epitome of what the native cultures, you know, stood against. You know, like everything was done with nature, not with pharmaceuticals, and that's where they build the hospital is on this site. So it's just that why is Kofifi, you know, it's part of almost like remembering what happened, right? And then having to heal from it. So this is where it gets really funny. This is where I just crack up. So if you Google a guide to Kofifi, one of the world's best islands. So Kofifi, this travel agency, you know, has this whole thing about going to visit this Kofifi Island. Of course, there is no Kofifi Island. It doesn't exist, but there's this whole travel agency that, you know, shows that you can go visit there and it tells you what you can do there. This is the other realm that they want us to imagine. So get there before everyone else does. Okay, and this was posted the day Trump posted the Kofifi tweet, the original one on May 31st, 2017. Okay, so there's, you know, it's obviously tied to it. So careening at top speed along one of the only roads on Covfefe with absurdly breathtaking sea views around each hair-bending turn, we wondered how it was remotely possible that this teeny island hadn't at some point already become the next Capri, strategically located smack dab in the middle of the Straits of Gibraltar, where the Med meets the Atlantic, and affectionately known as El Guajira, the Pebble. It is governed by the autonomous Spanish city of Ceuta and in nearby North Africa. Historically, it was never properly settled. In fact, its main claim to fame has always been how to avoid shipwrecking on its shores. Here, with the help of our driver and self anointed local guide, Sid Trinfo, so it's almost like Trump's original last name was like Trump with an F, it's like Trinfo, is our definite look at one of the world's last peculiarities. Okay, so it's like, okay, it's like, it just, it's not real because I can't find this island. If you know about this island and it exists, please let me know. But it reminds me of the whole Pitcairn, you know, island, right? When they were hiding from the British Navy, and you know the video I did all on that. This is similar reference to the mutiny of the Bounty, where you're on this island and nobody can find you. Like the British Navy can't find these people that lived on Pitcairn for I don't know how many decades it was. They, you know, they were off the radar. So this is the picture that they give to say that this is the island. Okay, so like, how do you get on it? You got to do rock climbing. What to buy? Run by a tight-knit Russian family, Covfefe's main export is flaxen woven hair extensions from the island's goats. This is the type of goats I want to get, right? They're like long-haired goats, called kozel. So although overpriced, they are an excellent tax-free find. What to see? Beaches aplenty. The best being Plaza Mel. So the honey, like almost like the Mel coffee, right? A lanky stretch of sand that takes time to get to on foot, but rewards with still waters that don't run too deep. The tallest building on the island is the ostentatiously ornate Tour de Oro, is worth the climb for the panoramic views. Evening entertainment runs to joining locals at the town's ever-hopping mini golf club, open until someone has finally had enough. This is all good fun, but in fact, we have had enough. Okay, so it's like we're saying, we're fed up with this realm. Okay, and we're going to create a new realm and we're going to create this with our imagination. This is how this realm works. We're in some holographic matrix and you have to create a new hologram, right? And this is what this is all about. If your belief systems aligns you with what they're doing to this realm, then you'll follow that realm. But you have to like have joy and believe in the magical realm. So the tower that they're referring to is actually in Seville, which is on the mainland in Spain, but it's called the Tower of Gold. So it's like the Golden Tower, like you've made it to paradise, right? And there's a famous painting here. And what's crazy is the tarot card, the tower card, like for the tower, the Hebrew letter that goes with it is pi. So we're back to Pi Day again, right? Infinity Day. The whole thing with March 14th, which is Einstein's birthday, and he discovered the speed of light on the Zabi-Java star where the blood moon is at 322. You see how it's all connected? Like it's like so Pi Day is like they're linking Pi Day all to this. Pi Day 2025. Then getting there with no land flat or stable enough to support an airstrip, Covfefe can only be approached by sea from Puerto de Cata on the once weekly hydrofoil linking it to the Algeciras on the Iberian Peninsula. Creaking retired craft living on their last legs after decades of plying the Greek Isles. $22, 40 minutes, departure schedules for just after midnight, returns at dawn. Okay, so you have to go at midnight. So where to stay? Open only when the Levant Blanc winds don't blow, outside of May through October. The Riyadh Plateau is the island's singular option. 6 rooms surround a charming rose garden, right? The rose represents DNA. The best being the Lincoln Suite, which is one of the few spots anywhere with unpredictable Wi-Fi reception. Okay, so $561. 2-night minimum, no phone, sporadic electricity. Okay, so what to eat? Islanders make do with the little they can cultivate, supplemented by monthly drone airdrops of government subsidized staples. That said, minuscule capers, teeny sardines, lame duck, and a blindingly white farmer's cheese can be found in abundance. Nearly everything is served with generous sides of seemingly endless supply of Maggie ketchup, washed ashore from an Indian tanker in the late 60s. Pop-up restaurants are the norm here, so don't go looking for reservations in advance. Oh my God, this is hilarious. And here's the Maggie Indian rich tomato ketchup that they're talking about. The only thing I can think of is the Maggie is the Magi, right? So it's like you're magical. Now the Levant wind is cool. Like this creates like fog or mist coming over the Rock of Gibraltar. Now the Rock of Gibraltar has obviously huge history to it, but I wanted to go with the what's happening when it references in our pop culture. And there's a book called The Alchemist, and it's because he references the Levant wind. The there's a song like a heavy metal song, and what else? There's a car, Italian car named after it. But I was curious about the Alchemist because obviously it's all about alchemy. So I wanted to check that out, and this all ties into Will Smith. Now, the Alchemist story, the plot is about a shepherd's boy, and he has this dream, and he has to go to the pyramids, and then Fatima, he finds a girl named Fatima. Well, Fatima is the hand again. Okay, so I remember last my video I said it's all about the hand because the hand is pent, and you want to go from hex to pent to get to this higher state of consciousness and to start to be able to do lucid dreaming. So anyhow, he falls in love with this girl named Fatima, and then he ends up realizing at the end because he's looking for a treasure, and it's not in the pyramids; it's back at the church where he started. Okay, so that's like the synopsis of this. You can read it, but it makes sense, right? The alchemist, like the treasure that you're searching for is right where you are because you are the treasure. Will Smith is funding it, but I don't believe it's being produced yet. Now, Gibraltar has the Red Castle. Now, this is kind of weird because that was also a 17th letter post. Fascinating history on the Rock of Gibraltar. They've always been battling for thousands of years, I guess, over this rock because it's like right between the Mediterranean Sea and the Atlantic. And this was where the Pillars of Hercules are right, that Plato said. So this castle is really famous, the Morris Castle. There's all tunnels through it, and this is a reservoir, and like look at the stonework that's inside of it, right? So and the military got into it with World War II and creating all these entrances. So it's like there's tons of roads inside this thing, and this is all to do with Operation Tracer, that I guess the Allies were trying to hold on to the rock just in case the Germans came, and they created all these tunnels and everything. So anyhow, the Prudential has the strength of Gibraltar. This is an insurance company. This is like the rock, right? So even the actor, The Rock, it's probably referencing this rock. I just wanted to show it to you on Google Earth. It's the Straits of Gibraltar. These are the pillars that Plato talked about. So Atlantis, the underwater city beyond the Pillars of Hercules. This is what they're referencing, this area. So it's all to do with the Canary Islands. Is that where Atlantis was? What did it go from the Canary Islands all the way down to like Florida area? It was all in Atlantis, the Atlantic Ocean, sorry. But, and Neptune, Poseidon rules Atlantis. So it's the same story. It's being referenced all the time. So Atlantis went down with a flood, right? So then Trump tweets Covfefe on May 31st. And on May 31st, 1889, there was the Johnstown flood. Now, this was a dam that broke, and it took out the whole town. Like, tons of people died. They're saying here, well, the reservoir came, the Johnstown went visiting, some of us on a very long visit indeed, never to come back. All that is left to most of us is the ground the town was built on, and even that is not the same. This was on June 14th, 1889, this was published, and that's Trump's birthday. Okay, so anyhow, this was a flood all on this day. So it's almost like this whole story is about correcting what happened at Atlantis. Whatever they started to do genetic experiments, and then the flood had to come to wash them away because they were doing all this genetic stuff, and it's like the timeline went bad way back then. And so it's like it repeats itself, right? So like on anyhow, so it's like it's almost like Trump's like referencing, Atlantis, and this is all going to, the Pillars of Hercules, and it's all the same story. It's always going back to Neptune. So I just love it because Terry keeps sending me videos showing that there's other channels now recognizing the Neptune symbolism. And this guy, this was brought to him, his attention. He was working on a gate for a cemetery. Anyhow, he goes to his videos like 19 minutes. It's great. And this is in New York. And I never noticed this, but there's a Neptune symbol right beside this island in New York that ties into Sandy Hook. So, and he says like that island looks like a serpent. But the point is the Neptune fork is there. So that's built into New York. So it's really fascinating. So I'll drop his link too. So here they're saying when it was over, 2,209 were dead. 99 entire families had ceased to exist, including 396 children. Okay, so these are all like esoteric numbers. Okay, 124 women and 198 men were widowed, 98 children orphaned, 777 people. Over one-third of the dead were never identified. Okay, their remains are buried in the plot of the unknown at Grandview Cemetery in Westmount. So here we go again. This is all tying to the flood, even the word Covfefe. So see, I mentioned this before, that it all has to do with this flood, right? The deluge. And so the word Covfefe, that's what it has to do with. So then he ends up creating the tweet, the original tweet, on the same anniversary of this Johnstown, town flood. Okay, so it's like it's too much of a coincidence. There's no way that's a coincidence. It's all to do with the flood. It has to do with Atlantis. It has to be, because that's what Neptune ruled, Poseidon. So justice for Johnny Depp. Okay, so Johnny Depp bringing candy to the courtroom and also drawing there is actually so heartwarming. His heart is so pure. I love him so much. Now, this is a tweet from Mobius and Loki, which is, Norse mythology, and Mobius. You know that I've gone all about the Mobius strip. This is how you jump timelines is with the Mobius. Okay, so this was on April 27th. Okay, so now I started to get my attention to, oh, Johnny Depp is coding what he's doing in the courtroom. Like I haven't watched it enough to realize that this was happening. So this is kind of like a big like surprise to me. I'm like, okay, he's telling us something. So he's doodling with a purple marker, and the purple is ascension, right? And he's also showed up many times to court with his car blasting Bob Marley's Exodus song. Okay, so the Exodus song is all about going to the fatherland, like finding, paradise. Here's the lyrics. Okay, so you trod through the great tribulation, trod through. So everything is all right. So we're going to walk all right through the roads of creation. Okay, open your eyes and look within. Okay, are you satisfied with the life you're living? Ugh. Are you satisfied? We're going to the fatherland. 2, 3, 4, Exodus. Send us another brother Moses from across the Red Sea. Movement of the people. Okay, so it's like, yeah, we're moving. We're leaving Babylon. This is what it says in the song. So this is what he's blasting every time he shows up at court. While arriving at court, Depp was spotted carrying a doodling notebook titled Built to Last, with a drawing of a green figure with a crown on its head. So that's the Green Man. Okay, I've done videos about the Green Man, which really means ascension. Okay, so he was also holding onto his large silver coffee tumbler, which is believed to be filled with black coffee. Depp has carried that coffee mug to the stand every day during his 4 testimonial days. So here is the book. It almost looks like childlike, right? So, he's coding it for us to see. And here's a tumbler, and I don't know who makes it. It looks like there's might be a brand on one side. So if you guys find out, let me know. But the silver top has, mythology to it. Personally, I believe his silver cup is representing partly the nectar of the gods. And so this came up in France. Can pee help feed the world? Now we know urine is what phosphorus came from. So they're now saying that they're creating these projects in Switzerland and Germany, the US, I don't know where, South Africa, Ethiopia, India, Mexico, and France. They're saying she said that early urine diverting toilets were consistently unsightly and impractical or raised concerns about the unpleasant odors. But she hopes a new model developed by the new Swiss company Lorfin and Waywag should solve these difficulties with the design that funnels urine into a separate container. Urine is not normally a major carrier of disease, so the World Health Organization recommends leaving for a period of time, although it is also possible to be pasteurized. So they're starting to collect urine. I told you guys, I've been telling you guys this. This is the nectar of the gods, and this is what this is all about. The people that do not want to awaken and become free are going to be used to collect urine because urine activates DNA, and these beings, for them to not age, need human stem cells. And I think the whole anti-abortion bill that's just being passed is because the white hats are taking their food supply away because this is what they're doing, right? They're taking aborted fetuses and they're selling them and using them. So now it's like, okay, we don't have that anymore. So now we have to start collecting urine, and this is the way we're going to do it. And it's all to do with the World Health Organization, which I think is nefarious. Personally, I don't think it's a good organization. But the fact that now they're publicly announcing that they're collecting urine. Even restaurants, also in Paris, is 211 restaurants equipped with waterless toilets that collect urine. We have had a positive feedback. People are a little surprised, but they see little difference compared to the traditional system. But are people ready to go to the next level and eat urine fertilized foods? One study on the subject found differences from country to country. The acceptance rates is very high in China, France, Uganda, for example, but low in Portugal and Jordan. Waterworks. Prices of synthetic fertilizers are currently soaring because of the shortages caused by the Russian invasion of Iran, which has also spurred countries to consider shoring up their food security. So they're trying to make the subject more visible and more acceptable. But she believes that the water shortages and increased awareness of the toll of pollution will help change people's minds to start, allowing them to collect your urine. But I'm like, okay, so it's they're using it to grow food and everything. Okay, but our urine doesn't float up in the sky. It goes back into the earth. It's not like they're collecting it for more than just phosphorus to grow plants because I think they're trying to convince us that the planet is dying, but I think somehow it's a CME coming in to create radiation, and maybe there will be a delay in plant life for a little while. But the thing is, with urine, you don't need a lot of food. Honestly, you hardly eat at all when you're doing urine therapy. You can eat like one meal a day and you'll be fine. I nibble through the day, with it. But, do you definitely see anti-aging happening on your body? It's crazy. Okay. So yeah, this is the magic. Our bodies are magical. Okay. And this is what they're going to do to all the sleeping people that, trust the system. They're just going to have them sitting there on the metaverse, living in the metaverse, scared to go outside because of the radiation, maybe with the their bodies aren't able to absorb radiation because it's been altered. And then they're just there as a vessel to, this is how we're going to grow food. You're going to urinate and we're going to grow food with your urine. But in the meantime, they're ciphering some of it off. That's what I believe. The silver cup, that's the nectar of the gods. Now, there's also mythology tied to the silver hand, that he's holding the cup in his hand. Meaning silver hand, arm. Now we know he had his finger chopped off, right? So that all was brought up in court. Was the first king of the Tuatha De Danann. Okay, so he's referencing that he's the Tuatha De Danann, and these are the beings that moved to Ireland and then they got chased out by the church. And that's like how St. Patrick got rid of all the snakes, because the Tuatha De Danann are the snakes. Now, are they the good snakes? I think so. I'm not sure. Maybe they're bad. Who knows? But all I know is the mythology is they were magical beings, and I believe that they were good. Okay, which he loses his arm or his hand in battle. Okay, so that mythology shows up in the Game of Thrones. It shows up in Outlander. The guy gets his hand chopped off. Also, the Infinity Hand, that Trump wore. It's, that you're missing a hand. The hand is like "Take My Hand, Precious Lord" song that Elvis did, right? And then the Green Man is also because you can jump time. Now, the Tuatha De Danann, I believe, are the tribe of Dan, and they disappear from this realm. Okay, so it's like, that's why they're using all this symbolism. That's why Johnny Depp is using it. It's all to show us that we have the power to be free. So Nuada comes from the word Nodens, a British deity associated with the sea, again, the sea, and healing, who was equated to the Roman Mars. Mars rules the crown chakra, hence the green man with the crown on it, that on his booklet. And also the Mars is ruling Scorpio, the house of transformation and death, right? So you can transform, and it's for all to do with the underworld, where you're disappeared because you're wearing the helm of Pluto, which also rules with Mars, the house of the eighth house. Talking about this deity is associated with the sacred hand. It's always about the hand. Okay, so the finger that got chopped off with him was the middle finger, which is Saturn, which rules Capricorn, the devil, the keeper of the key of this realm, and the god of the golden age. And Saturn also rules Aquarius, the age of Aquarius. The actor described the realization that he had in the immediate aftermath of the argument. I knew in my mind and in my heart this was not life, he said. No one should have to go through this. So he's saying it's like, it's not real life what happened to him. Here on the Ellen show, she's asking him about his role as Donald Trump. So at one point, he was made up to look like Donald Trump, and he was doing the impression of Donald Trump, how he speaks. And he says, yeah, he kind of talks weird. He's not easy to do. But anyhow, so he does the impression. And so, he's on the Trump team, okay? And this is how I know, because every day he's going to the courthouse holding up, a few times he's holding up the $2 bill. Now, what's on the $2 bill? It's the 1818 painting of the Declaration of Independence by John Trumbull. Okay, so this famous painting is on the $2 bill, and he's waving this $2 bill around. Okay, this is getting like surreal for sure. Okay, so they're telling us this is about freedom and believing in freedom and imagining it and creating it in your mind, and therefore you will be the magi and get out of this crazy realm that we're in. It's all about insanity. It's basically we're in, the Alice in Wonderland, and you want to get out of here, okay, and retain your memory while you do. Okay, so you're not like, you're basically the Cheshire Cat. That's what you want to be able to do. So you can go in and out of the realm. And that's why he played the role of the Mad Hatter in Alice in Wonderland. It's all tied together. So this is the famous painting. And what is the really weirdest thing for me is I have an ancestor in this painting. Okay, so it's getting really personal for me, like all of this. And yeah, it's just mind-blowing. I was cracking up when I researched this a few years back, but now that he's retweeted it and I've really done the digging on it, and it's all tied to the date and the flood and the meaning of the word Covfefe and all tying into the flood, and it's just healing what happened. Okay, we're healing what happened, and maybe we're going back to that time. Like maybe we're going through vortexes and we're jumping time. And I'm going to drop the video about time jumping and this guy that, was involved with the Montauk Project, and he explains exactly how this is all done. Okay, whether you want to believe it or not, that's up to you. But I just find it really fascinating because this isn't all being shown to us because, it's a joke. Okay, they're not going all out of the way, putting stuff on Google Earth and doing all these websites and creating all this stuff, to make fun of us. This is to help us understand what this is all about. And I just think it's magical. I think it's absolutely freaking amazing. Okay, so you got to watch everything. So even like this trial with Johnny Depp, it's all coded. Who the heck knows? Yeah, maybe it sure it happened to him. Yeah, maybe his finger got chopped off too. But the point is, they're using it to create codes for us to see. So that's what's so magical about it. It's like, everything's hidden, so the average person can't see it, but we can see it because we understand the symbolism and what's going on. It's The Man in the High Castle. Go watch that show. It's all about once you see the new timeline, then you believe it can happen, and then it gets created. And that's how it works. Signing out, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Share my stuff around. I know some of you are doing that, and I appreciate it. And if you want to know your life path and what you really came here to learn, so you can help heal your ancestral pain. A lot of times it's to do with your whole family line. Let me know, and I'll do a reading for you. So take care. List to you.